Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. It's been a while, but I'm really glad to be back. So I just wanted to show that card quick at the start of the video as kind of a sample for what we're going to do today. I actually learned this technique in another class I took back in March, and I really liked it, and I thought I wanted to make my own video on it because it's really easy, really simple, and I thought it'd be a fun Christmas in July type situation. So this technique uses embossing powder, so make sure you have some of that if you want to give it a try. I'm really proud of myself because I actually remembered to use my little embossing buddy dust bag, whatever you want to call it. I always forget that step, and I didn't this time. I used it. This technique is so quick and easy. I didn't even speed up the video. I didn't have to. I'm way under my time limit that I set for myself. So that's how easy it is. So what I'm doing now is I have my Versamark ink cube, and I'm just going over the entire piece of paper. I already die cut this. I'm not exactly sure what size it is because I didn't measure it. I just used a rectangle die that I have, and it is one of the MFT rectangle stack dies, and I didn't even think to get measurements for you guys. But, you know, the technique is the same no matter what size paper you're using. Here I have two Gina K Designs embossing powders. Both that gold is probably like 3 years old, if not more than that, and the silver honestly probably is too, but they will work still. I don't have a ton of embossing powder. I only have a few colors, so gold and silver pretty much all I have. I have black, clear, white, all that kind of stuff too, but these two are really the only colors I have. But you could have so much fun with this if you have a whole bunch of colors. So I just have a little spoon that I keep with my embossing powders, and I'm just going to take the embossing powder and kind of sprinkle it over the paper. So you kind of don't want to cover the whole thing. You could do that if you wanted to, but that's not the effect that I'm going for here. It's kind of a splattery marble embossing powder background. And so I kind of just take it and I sort of tap it, and you can see like the one corner I got way too much going on there, but it still comes out all cool in the end. So that's that. I do one color at a time so that I don't mix them. But if you're using an embossing powder, say it was the very end and you're just like, I just want to use this up, or you don't really care about throwing it away, you can totally do it do both colors at the same time and be done. I just did it this way because I knew I wanted to save the leftover embossing powder that I had. The one thing I did think about while I was filming this video is that I kind of wish, or no, take that back. One thing I thought about is that I would actually have liked to try this with like a white embossing powder and seeing if I could do some like cool ink blending resisty effects to it. This one wouldn't have worked out that so well because I got a little carried away with my embossing powder, and I covered a lot more of the paper than I kind of intended to. But I think you could get some really cool effects if you had a little bit more control over your embossing powder and did some ink blending after to do or watercoloring even, to do a kind of a resist thing. Or the other thing I thought of is that if you wanted to, like if you had this situation where you dumped too much on, kind of like I did, and you wanted to do the blending type background thing, you could always take a paintbrush and brush off areas that you don't like. And you'll see even I kind of fuss with it a little bit. I add a little bit more in some areas. I stuck my finger in it, so there's a big chunk that's missing on the side, but you can't see it on the finished card, so it doesn't really matter anyway. So now I'm just heating it up to emboss it, and that's the technique for this video, guys. That's how easy it is. I really wish I had come up with this on my own and not learned it in a class because it's so brilliant, and I don't use my embossing powder enough. I don't know if anyone else is that way. Heat embossing, my dad thinks heat embossing is like the coolest technique that we have. He thinks it's this super fancy, super hard to do thing, and it just makes me laugh because I think it's the heat tool. Like, he just sees me bring out the heat tool and he's like, ooh, fancy, like power tools in the craft room kind of thing. But it's really, heat embossing is fun. It's not something I tend to reach for very often. Mostly just because I tend to spill embossing powder everywhere, and I'm really impressed that I only spilled a little bit and it was relatively easy to clean up. But I tend to spill it all over the place. I always forget to use my embossing putty. That's nobody's fault but mine, because then I just get frustrated when it doesn't come out. But it's always my fault because I didn't take the steps and use the tools I have to make it go better. So, this is just a fun, different way to use your embossing powder, though. The other thing I suggest, if you're really into embossing powder, if you have like a ton of it and you're looking for new techniques to try, just go follow Wow Embossing Powder on Instagram, because they always have cool stuff over there. And that this class that I learned this in was actually kind of sponsored by them, not directly, but it was their products, whatever you want to say. So follow them if you're really into this, because they always have cool ideas. I almost never try them because I scare myself and I won't do it, or I just forget about them by the time I have time to sit down and do it. But I love this, and I thought the gold and silver would make a really cool Christmas card background. And I like that. I don't have a ton of colors. I was looking through. I have a bunch of retired Gina K embossing colors, like the champagne and metallic blush and uh, copper and stuff. And I may try to do something else with those too. But this is just so fun and so easy and such a cool and different background idea, and I love it. And like I said, that's the technique for this week. I had so much time left over that I actually basically walk you through the entirety of the assembly of this card too. So this white, I just couldn't see what I was doing, so I'd put a white piece of paper behind my black mat there, and just to help me be able to line it up a little bit better and see it. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this background and I'm going to glue it down to the black matte piece. And I mean, I don't even know what else to say, guys. I actually keep all my stamping in on this video because the technique was so easy. I really wish I would have brought out the stuff to do the ink resist background kind of try on camera, but I didn't pull it out before I filmed the video, and I didn't have time to stop filming, go get it out, and bring it back and film that little part, or you wouldn't be getting a video today. So, but I guess while you guys are watching me kind of put this together, I will say I'm so glad to be back filming videos. I actually do have a second video filmed. It's not edited or voiceovered or anything. Well, maybe by the time you're watching this it might be edited, but I really doubt that, knowing myself, that it's edited. But hopefully that'll be coming out to you soon, and hopefully I can kind of stick with this again, get back into a groove a little bit. I know I haven't posted anything since Easter because I just kind of, I don't know, couldn't get my act together, but hopefully I can get it back together now, because I kind of forgot how much I enjoy doing this after doing this video. So happy Christmas in July, 6 months till Christmas. Hopefully you're starting to think about your cards. I don't send a ton of Christmas cards, so this will probably be one of the only ones I make this year, but we all know that's not going to stop me from buying all of the Christmas goodies when they come out in the fall. But maybe you're starting to get hyped for Christmas releases and things like that. This stamp set, speaking of Christmas releases, this stamp set is Christmas Silhouettes, which is by Gina K Designs. I'm using pretty much almost all Gina K Design stuff today, except for a few things. And I love this stamp set. It's so pretty. There's actually the reason I bought it was the greetings, because the greetings are really cool. They're kind of the build your own, but they have the really big font and the really small font. Now we'll use the really small font on this one today, just because that's what worked with this card. But it's got a lot of great, like, kind of build your own greetings, if you will, to it. This tree is really fun. I did a card last year, I think. I don't know if I shared it though, but if I didn't share it, I have it, and I will try to share it this year, hopefully. What did I do with that, actually? I'm not so sure now. But I used this and I heat embossed it in gold, which I did think about doing for this card, but I didn't like to pull the gold and the silver out of the background. I thought about heat embossing this one in the gold or silver too, but then I decided no, I was going to do something different. So I'm still going to play up the silver in the background, although I'm sitting here looking at the finished card while I'm recording this, and it really doesn't, but that's just because I kind of got a little obnoxious with the gold in the embossing powder. When I tried to tone it down and add more silver, it didn't really work. So, but it still looked really cool at the end, so that's all that matters. So I wanted to stamp the tree in gray, and I went through like 4 different grays. I had like 4 or 5 different grays in front of me. No, I had 3. That was a bit obnoxious. I had 3 grays in front of me. I had Gina K's Soft Stone and Stormy Sky, and then I went through my little ink swatch thing, and I found Tim Holtz's, I forget what this color is called now. I should have written it down before I sat down to film or record the voiceover, but I didn't do that because why would I make my life easy? It's the hickory smoke one. That's the one I'm using. So I don't usually stamp with Distress ink unless I stamp in my Misty because I usually have to do it twice. And I don't use my Distress ink nearly enough anyway for anything because I just always reach for my Gina K stuff all the time. But I've decided this was more the gray I was looking for. And then in the end, because it's Distress ink and it doesn't always stamp the greatest, especially with clear stamps, but so it looks kind of distressed, for lack of a better word. And I actually kind of really like the way it comes out in the end. You'll be able to see it better in the final pictures at the end of the video. What else do I have to talk about? I'm trying to think. Did I mention that I think I did talk about this, that I'll always stamp it twice. So this is me, I'm going to stamp it. I think I even might have stamped this a few times. Because at first I didn't think I wanted this, like, splotchy, distressed situation. But it turns out that I do. And even sitting here looking at the final card, like I said, while I'm filming this, or recording this, I really like it. And I'm kind of glad I didn't try to get it perfect. Oh, do you like my Chucky tool? My dad built that for me. If you guys are fans of Gina K and fans of her lives, you'll know some very nice gentleman named Chuck Meadows sent her a tool to use to help her get really clean impressions on their Misty. And I'm sure by this point you all seen him everywhere because I've seen him a bunch of places, but my dad built that for me a while ago, and it works really well for me. I like the handle, and it's got fuzzy stuff on the bottom, so sometimes I'll admit I just grab it and pet the fuzzy stuff because the fuzzy stuff feels good. I don't know what the fuzzy stuff is, but it's very nice to touch. So here I am, I'm going to go stamp the sentiment now, or the greeting, whatever you want to call it. I'm just using Merry Christmas for this one. I played around with a couple of the other greetings in the set, in this Christmas silhouette stamp set, but I was gonna try to use the big words, and I just decided against it. I liked this little rectangle-y thing I had going on here, and it, like the circle that the tree is stamped in had stitching on it, and then the rectangle had stitching on it, and I just thought it was cool. I just stamped it in Gina K Designs Red Velvet, kind of trying to pull out some of the red from the card base because I hadn't really pulled that out, and I'm going to use red in one other spot too. One thing I will say about the greeting, though, it's actually my least favorite part of this card. I wish I would have centered it more. I have this habit of always, like, left justifying all of my greetings, especially when they're two pieces like this. Like, this one is two pieces. It's Merry and it's Christmas. They're two separate words, two separate stamps. Like, they're not together, if you will. They go together, but they're not attached to each other in the world of the stamp set. So, two tips on this, and this is one of those like Samantha take your own advice type situations, but I'm not very good at that, so you'll probably see me do this again, same exact thing, and I'll say the same exact thing again. When you have the two stamps, stamp one then the other. Like, it's okay to try to map it out, but try to stamp one than the other because half the time you have more room than you think you do, and like you might see it in a minute here, but you can tell, like, I could have squished them together a little bit more, and I think that would have helped. I also wished I wouldn't have left justified the everything. I wish I would have centered them, because the Christmas takes up the whole rectangle, but I wish I would have centered the Merry so that it was more in the middle, because then I ended up with this weird white space that I felt like I had to fill, and it's the only thing I don't like on this card is that situation. But the rest of it, this is one of the best cards I've made in a long time. I think I'm quite proud of myself. The other video that I have filmed is the other best card I've made in a long time. But maybe it's also just because I honestly haven't made cards in a while. I've kind of been slacking in a lot of different ways. So there's my last tip for this video. I shouldn't say that because there'll be something else. I'll see something else happen and then I'll have to talk about it. But you'll see here, this banner piece is a little bit too long for the card. I have a box of die cut pieces that I keep around, and and this is where this came from. Actually, the circle that the tree is stamped in, this banner piece and the greeting piece are all just out of this box that I have. And in my head, when I pulled it out, I thought it would work perfectly and fit really nice on the card. And then I used it and realized, oh, it's kind of long. But in this case, it worked out because when I originally was like envisioning this card in my head, I didn't really want the fishtail bannery ends there anyway. But I found this piece and was like, okay, well, that'll work. So I'm just going to, I glued it down like I would, and I'm just going to cut off the excess. And you saw me struggle there because I don't know if anyone else has this issue, but sometimes I have this thing where my brain just like cannot tell my hands what it needs it to do to accomplish the goal we're trying to accomplish. I'm pretty sure that's just a me issue, but it was a thing in this, so I just like really struggled for a while trying to figure out how to cut that one side off. See, I'm still struggling with it. My brain was like, I don't know how, I know what I need to do, but I don't know how to do the thing I need to do. It happens. Whatever. We're moving on. But anyway, so now it's like, it looks just straight, so you do lose the little bit of detail of like the actual like little fishtaily banner ends. But I still think it looks pretty cute, and I like it, and it's a really good size, and it works. So don't be afraid to die cut something and then change it if you need to. Is basically the moral of that story. Then, of course, here comes the difficult part of deciding where the greeting goes, because I didn't plan that out in the first place. I think in the beginning I had intended to put something up at the top. Like, there's some pretty cute poinsettias in this stamp set, and I did briefly think about cutting out one of those to put up near the circle, because my brain was like, I feel like there's not enough going on up in the top part of the card, because I got the strippy thing at the bottom, and I'm going to put my greeting down there. Like, I tried to put it at the top, but I didn't like it. But I actually like the way it came out in the end, and I think it works. Yes, the bottom is a little bit busier than the top of the card, but I think it's all good. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should I have put it at the top? Because now I'm second guessing myself. But I really like it at the bottom, so we'll leave it there. And then at the very end, I just decided to add a little bit of gems to the sentiment thing, because like I said, that extra kind of white space on the end was bothering me, and I should have just redid it. Like, it's not that hard to redo things, you know? Like, I could have just restamped it so that it was centered the way I wanted it to, but I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it. So because I wanted to use the rectangle I had, so I felt like I couldn't redo it. My brain is weird. It's all good. It challenges me to come up with new things. But here's some pictures for you, and I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and have a crafty day.